Hello, everyone. The topic for the day would be interpersonal communications and employee counseling. Remember, the counseling can only happen where there is a communication. So we will be discussing the modalities of communication and how we can implement it during the counseling process. Essentially speaking about counseling in the crux. So, what is counseling? Counseling is a therapeutic process. Remember, it's a therapeutic process of providing help, assistance to people to face or probably go through difficult times in life. So, basically, when you assist people how to cope up with stress, how to cope up with anxiety, how to cope up with the loss of energy, to when they are going through difficult times in the life, that is what is counseling is all about. It helps people to see things from different viewpoints, encourage them to take proactive action. Let us not make them reticent, let them not be shy away from the problems that the life is throwing towards them. Let us ask them to handle it carefully and in a definite. So, counseling is therapy? Definitely yes. Counseling is advising? Yes. Counseling is all about accepting the changes that is happening. Counseling is all about helping. Counseling is all about caring, is all about sharing. It is all about giving guidance. So if you look at it, this is what the counseling is all around here. We have these lines that needs to be taken care for. You need to understand. So, with therapy, with advising, the changes, the helping, the sharing, the guidance is all integral part and process of counseling. And during this process, you have to communicate your information. You have to be empathetic towards your employee. So, need for employee counseling at workflows? Definitely yes. Do we have to have a need? Why do you think there are so many flare ups that keeps on occurring? Why do you feel that people feel cheated or unjustified action has been meted to them? A proper guidance, a proper communication, is it all what is that takes to diffuse the situation, make everyone pally at one go, and definitively make them active employees so that they can disburse their duties, so that they can disburse their responsibilities. There are no malified intentions, and emotions are high and strong. So when do we go for this kind of communication? When there is an unrealistic targets, when people think that the target which has been met or given to them is unfathomable, is unachievable, therein we need to put the right perspective in mind. We need to talk about the excessive workload. We need to define it, we need to bifurcate it, we need to dissect the workload so that it doesn't seem of an Himalayan nature. We will be talking about the late coming and absenteeism. When employees are coming late, this is the point when we understand that something needs to be done, something has to be communicated. Counseling is a prerogative then and there. So, lack of awareness, lack of procedures. If you see somebody faulting every now and then, somebody not adhering to the rules and regulation, more so not because intentionally but because of the lack of knowledge, lack of social habits, lack of the information within the camaraderie or the fraternity that is prevalent. So we need to talk to them, we need to communicate with them. We will also communicate in case there are certain issues with the performances are very, it's not going meeting the target. This is the time we need to go around it. And definitely if performance are defaulting, if performance are not up to the mark, they are bound to default the deadlines, the slipping deadlines as we go around it. And we talk about career problem, career progression. If there are any, we can educate employees to do so. So we require counseling when these things needs to be faced. We require proper communication between the supervisor and the the workers. So when do we go it? We do it with when the responsibilities and accountabilities are all about it. We will have to talk about the responsibilities. We need to talk about the our goals and objectives. When there is a lack of spirit that goes around it, when there's an interpersonal relationship and subordinate is what we talk around. We have to talk the problems of the organizational culture. Many a times it has been noted that people are not getting the due recognition. They are not being able to assimilate themselves with the culture of the organization. We need to sort them out. We need to sort if there are any family issues around it, if the employees are facing a personal problems, that needs to be tended to, because a happy employee is a satisfied employee. A satisfied employee is a productive employee. Looking at the behavioral issues, if there are any anomalies, if there are tendencies, with if there are emotions going here haywire, we need to speak up. We need to put the pedal on the gas. We need to handle the situation altogether. Counseling is must. Proper communication between the supervisor and the worker is must. Yes. So who needs to identify these things? Number one, we will have to have the counselor centered counseling, which is all about line managers. They need to tell out, pinpoint the people with potential but are desperate with their performances, or people who are performing are not up to their potential. We need to talk to the supervisor if to determine the problem. What is wrong? Is the anomaly very short lived, or is that there is a change of late and it is not up to the expectation? Supervisor himself or herself will be having the solution, because supervisor is the key person in the situation. He knows the nerve of the employee altogether. Supervisor should take the responsibility of the success of counseling session. He need to provide a sense of we feeling, a sense of belongingness, and any sense of threats needs to be eliminated. So we talk about what? We talk about individual employees to be counseled. We can talk about group employees to be counseled. We need to talk about the problems that a person or the employee is facing. We need to understand it is never, remember, human beings are never the problem. They are educated, they are intelligent. If you press the right triggers, if you can do it, you the real problem will eventually emerge. Employee may have the solution. Definitely, at times is the supervisor having the solution. At times, the employee will tell what is it that is bothering him or her. So, employee will actually give you a solution, and that is where we need to understand and discuss the problem all together. We need to set time aside. We need to set the definite agenda, definite time frame, and give a little bit of a space to the employees so to as to sort the problem altogether out. So that is what who identifies the need. Now, if it is who has been answered, then the question comes why. The question is all of chalk down the career path. That is why it is all about it. Why do we need to go for counseling? If it is a performing employee whose performance is deteriorating day after day, the question needs to be talk about why. If it is not a performing employee, then the question is why should he or she be continued into the employment? So we need to understand this. At the same time, we cannot, remember, we do not chalk the valuable employees. Yes, human beings are made of flesh and bones, and they are emotional beings altogether. There might be a passage of time or phases of time when things are not working in their proper sequences. That is where you need to hold your horses, have an effective communication, speak your heart out, let the person know how empathetic you are towards him or her. Growth for the employees is what we are looking at. Ensure transparency, ensure an environment of belongingness, ensure honesty as for the employees are concerned, put problems on the table for open evaluation, open resolution. if there are any conflict that is arising, if there are any misunderstanding that are arising, please sort it out, get things in written, talk to each and every aggrieved party to the problems of the employee. It need not be a personal problem. It can be an issues. The operational issues can not be directly linked to the direct supervisor, or probably there might be other supervisors who might not be actually, or who might create a sense of hindrance in the employee. So we need to talk about them. We need to see them, speak them, and have clear expectation. We need to ensure people follow ethical standards of the company, the rules and the common culture. This is what it is all about it. Remember, without this, we will never improvise. Counseling modes. There are two counseling modes: the development and disciplinary. One is proactive development and one is reactive. Please understand, development is proactive counseling method, which is face to face communication, talking it out, sorting things matter, bringing the problems to the fore. It is usually conducted by the supervisor, and the supervisor is the best person to handle the problems and the hindrance of the employee that he or she might be facing. Start with a verbal discussion and probably then pen down your solution to the problem that has been discussed around it as a meeting of the minutes, and go for an action step as to what is expected. Give a timeline for the employees to adjust, for the supervisor to get him accustomed to the delays has been done. On the other hand, remember, development counseling was all proactive. Now we'll talk about the reactive disciplinary counseling methodology, which can be pre-penalization. Things might have gone all to hand and you are before meting out the punishment, speaking it out, conducting it with you're the other department. The human resource department comes into the flow. The functional supervisor is out of the system or the picture, if you call it. Then it is all about documenting it with a warning letter or a show cause letter, which is always issued to the internal customer, in this case the errant employee, and asking him or providing her with an opportunity to express himself or herself. This, based on the responses, we need to end up with a draft plan of action, and then the second action, if at all it is required. If the counseling actually fails, is then we go to the second draft of action, as what can be done, what are the punitive steps that may be taken. The line manager's roles in counseling is to listen and listen. Most of the time, this aspect itself solves a maximum number of grievances. If the manager is listening to the problem, is addressing to the issue, is recognizing or acknowledging the employee's genuine concerns, that is what we need to go around it. Provide a feedback, understand the counseling, what is a different point of view, look at his or her perspective, investigate the problems and the matters, avoid word of mouth. Definitely don't watch it through your ears. I repeat, though, don't look it through your ears. That means somebody is whispering onto your ears and you're believing it out. See with your own eyes, watch it, and then find out the root cause, determine with the evidence, suggest. Then automatically, once you've experienced it as a first hand person, as a supervisor, as a manager, as an HR executive, whoever it is, you will automatically come with a solution. Now you tell them what exactly is the behavior and clarify the expectations to him or her, determine the right course of action, and discuss what is to be concluded. So, right course of action, once you explain it to your employees, right course of action when it is properly discussed between the supervisor and the workers, and thereafter the draft plan of action will actually materialize. This becomes a very resounding success for resolving any of the grievances or the counseling that needs to go around it. Now we'll talk about the HR roles in counseling. Need for counseling to be identified by HR as well as supervisor. HR discusses the issue with relevant supervisors and continuously asks for feedback. Yes, definitely. It is a prompt and reactive services that needs to be taken care for. You need to do it in a war footing basis to discuss the issues with the supervisors and continuously look for the feedback as what if the errant employees are on the path, if things are not going out of your hand, people are not getting depressed, discuss and agree to the action plan altogether. Now most important is all about scheduling and jointly conducting the counseling session, keeping everybody in the loop, touching the HR, the supervisors, everybody in the loop as far as the counseling is concerned. Now, this counseling can end with a warning if required, need not necessarily and can end with a warning. Probably most of the time it ends with a giving a time frame to improve upon your performances, behaviors, and anything that goes wrong with it. Follow up action plan and feedback with the supervisor after a stipulated time has passed. This is what is all required with the HR to monitor the development of late. This is what we are looking at it. Then comes the styles of counseling. You look, we have basically five styles of counseling. One is the evaluative style that has been pointed out. Then is the probing style that is mentioned out here. Then we have the counselor role as supportive. We have the interpreter roles of the counselor. And last but not least would be the reflective role of the counselor. Look what is happening. The people, the counselor is actually evaluating the process, the event, and giving a suggestion. Whereas on the other rules of probing, the counselor will actually listen to everything and then let the things go on. And this time, he or she, the counselor, would be just observing, inquiring things during the course of the action before coming or recommending a solution. Supportive is all being empathetic towards the counselee. The counselor will be supportive and suggest incremental changes so as to improvise on the productions or the performance or the ability or the will or the skill issue altogether. The interpreter is news of the role of the counselor style would be wherein the counselee's position, the counselee's point of view needs to be communicated, needs to be understood, needs to be appreciated. Therein comes the solution. The last style is of reflective. Now, this reflective is once the counselor heard everything about the situation, and then the question that he or she might arise is, what if? What if situation A would have handled in such particular fashion? Situation B would have been handled in a particular fashion. What if is the question that needs to be talking about. It is all about being reflective. So we'll talk about making judgment based on what you heard is what I've already told you as an evaluative style. Then the interpretative styles is what about is all about. We have to talk what interpret what have you heard. That is what exactly you want to talk around it. We will talk about the accuracy and the validity. Supportive is being empathetic, being sympathetic towards the counseling. Probing is finding out the more information. As I said, the counselor actually hears the whole story and then let the things go on as it is going on, probably at this time finding it out, inquiring on the process where whatever he or she has heard is true or whatever is in practice is true. What are the difference between the reported and the actual proceedings altogether. Then comes the reflective, is all about giving feedback of a listener perception. The question that I asked you that the counselor can give it to the counselee is what if, to check its accuracy. Assess your counseling style. Now, this is as per you as a counselor, what is the best style for you? You know, most of the time, many of the counselor use a combination of reflective and probing responses. This is what encourages the staff to think to the problem and arrive to a solution. Ultimately, the best solution, the best style is what matches your temperament. Remember, you are the center, and it is your temperament should marry with the style that you focus around it. So we have 4 steps. Step number 1 is to identify the needs for the process. Do you actually require the counseling? Step number 2 is preparing for counseling. Yes, this is the step where you decide, yes, we need to undergo with the counseling process altogether. How do we go around it? We do it as beginning of the session, prior to the counseling session has actually begun. You prepare for it. During the session is step number 3. Remember, during the session or conducting the session, you are actually have identified the problem out in the step number 1, the process that you want to go around it, the findings that you want to go, the key metrics that you want to determine. And during the session is you actually going through the process with the fourth one is wherein you will actually give the solution and follow up with it. And that is simple 4-step methods of altogether. Remember, identifying the needs, observing the situation, observing the events, the issues, comparing the current situation with the desired one, focused on two-way communication. This is very important. You need to let counselee speak for himself or herself. No wonder in which language, if it is a body language he or she is expressing, in a written format he or she is expressing, it is with an audio format that he or she is expressing, allow him to express. If not in his in his native language or in his mother tongue or the tongue that he is very accustomed to. So interactive session is what we are going. Step number 2 is preparing for counseling. What is it? You are looking at a suitable place. You are looking at a conducive time, notifying the core concerned members well in advance, preparing every party out there, organizing the event altogether, information, outline the session component, and plan your counseling strategy. Very, very true. This all thing can be a fruitful if done on the right atmosphere, as I have been saying around it. The right atmosphere will set the ball rolling. Step number 3 is conducting the session. It is during the session that we go around it. We have to speak around what is the issue, what can be done. You need to talk about it after opening of the session, developing the action plan, and probably documenting it. Last but not the least would be the follow-up session, wherein we'll talk about the supportive subordinates, what to do about their plans, how do they put them into action. We need to speak about, review the plan of action if required. If there are any discomfort, if there are not minor anomaly, how to rectify them. So amend the plan if required and measure the session as for a follow-up. Now, counseling skill is active listening. Yes, true. Did I say listen, listen, listen? And more than 50% of your work is done. You need to observe the body language. Did I say let the counselee speak, even if he or she is speaking via the body language? Have an intelligent question. Not let us have a probing question. Let us have a problem solving approach altogether. Let us take a decision that is acceptable. Remember, decision that is acceptable. Connecting and reflecting back is very important. Mutual influencing, it is like give some take some basis that needs to work around it. Reading non-verbal behaviors akin to a body language, non-verbal behavior, how comfortable he or she is, what are the discomforts that he or she might be expressing it, then not imposing superiority or patronage in any fashion, be it with your language, be with anything. And last but not the least would be your recommendation you come across it. So, as a quality of effective counselor, you need to be effective. Definitely yes. You need to be respectful. Definitely yes. You have to be warm in your voice. There should be a smile on your face. You should be at the same time confident, being honest, being transparent, being attentive actually works in favor of the counselor. Listen, listen, listen. This is the one word, one quality which I'm stressing upon you as a counselor, because it helps you in solving almost 50% of that issues. Then comes with an open-ended question. Never give a close-ended question, because you need to understand the perspective, the point of view from which the counselor is actually approaching the situation. Unbiased, be understandable, and let us not be in a hurry. Let us take things in a slow pace. Let us have the sense of authority during the counseling process. Let the authority not take away the skew away the things all. The counseling errors is dominating the counseling session. Given an authority, you should not misutilize it. Give unnecessary or inappropriate advices. In the eventualities of counseling, people go overboard in the sense they marks the issue and go into their personal life of the counseling, which is inappropriate. It is not recommended. Not listening is one of the most biggest problem. Projecting personality dislikes, likes, biasness, you need to go around it. You don't need to identify a certain background and have a personal project personality likes and dislike on that basis. Not to have a biasness for anything. Give an abrupt judgment is again very unhealthy and unprofessional altogether. For a counseling, go through all the steps of counseling. Then comes stereotypes, loss of emotional control, absence of action plan is what we require it, improper follow up, using single counseling type style, and last but not least would be neglecting the privacy factor. Respect, remember, respect is the word. Having give the dignity to the counseling, and that works in your. So benefits of counseling is decrease cost. Definitely yes. That means improve productivity. Less of absenteeism, improvement in productivity, improvement in performance, increase in productivity. Behavioral problem brought by organizational change helps in making effective decision, assist in understanding a situation most objectively, not to drop, get down by emotions at all, facilitate the situation with a new perspective, and motivate in search of an alternative solution. So these are the benefit which brings down the calls, enhances the productivity, improves the morale, helps in excellent decision making, and most importantly emotions have been let off and you are data driven objective, being very objectively you assess everything. With this I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.